What's up, Freestyle skating community? It's me, Jay, and I'm here together with Luke and Ben from BX Fist England, and we are here in beautiful Falun, Sweden to talk about T-blades, because a lot of you guys have been asking many questions about T-blades, and Luke is here to answer all of them. Right, Luke?
Yes, correct. So, T-blades, they're completely different to your traditional hockey skate. You have your holder, which can be riveted on or screwed on in replacement for your original tuck. You have the stabilizer, which comes in two parts, and it screws on to your holder. It's awkward at this angle, but so it goes on like this, and the other one would go on the other side. And this secures the runner in place. So, let's start with the runners. The runners come in many different variations. You have an S, an M, and an L. Small, meaning about this much of the blade sits on the ice. A medium, and a large. You also come in sharpness. So we have S9s here. So this means there's a small amount of the blade touching the ice, but a 9 is saying that it's very sharp. Takes off your nail very easy. It goes up in 2, so it goes S9, S11, S13, and so on, all the way up until you get quite blunt runners. Each part is customization, can be customized. So this comes in many different colors. There's also people like Michael Muller from Experiment who can do you customized screws with spikes on. So I think the best part about the T-blade is the customization and the control you get while using them. Here's a pair of tacks. This is all put together. So you have the holder, the stabilizer, and the runner. Obviously this has been painted, a nice new colour. This is nice painted, nice new colour. You have different tools as well. So, yes, we also have the clip at the back. This doesn't actually do anything for the skate, it's just for show, but it looks nice. And people like Michael Muller from Experiment can do you different ones. So you could have a minion face, you could have a Batman sign, you could have whatever your mind kind of decides, and as long as Michael can create it. This is the tool. As you can see, it's got 3 prongs. So the 3 prongs would sit inside your bolt. This is where you can tighten and loosen from your skate. So if I show you on a pair which have been put together, slots in quite easy, and you can twist to undo. And the bolt simply comes out.
Alright, so maybe as all of you know, I don't skate with T-blades, I have just the original normal runners. So maybe we can talk about advantages and disadvantages of T-blades and runners. So look, if I skate with my skates, I can sharpen them like once or twice a month. What about your T-blades? Like, how many times do you skate and how many times do you need to replace them?
So with T-blade, you can't put them on a grinding wheel, so you can't go to your ice rink and have them sharpened. But one of the best things about T-blade is you can just swap them out nice and quick. So you can unscrew all your bolts, take off your stabilizer, slip in a new runner, put it all back together, and you're back to where you were. So if you order a certain grind, like an S9, you always know that when you put an S9 in, they're going to be exactly that same sharpness you had last month. You don't have to find someone who sharpens your skates. So sometimes it can be difficult if you go to an ice rink and you have one person who sharpens your skates because you know they can do it well and they're not there. It can be a bit of a pain. So with the T-blades, you have no need for paying for sharpening or finding someone who can sharpen them well. You can just swap in and out, in and out. as you need.
Yeah, I think it's also depending in which country you live, because for example, when I need to sharpen them, it doesn't cost me that much, but I heard that in England sometimes to let your blades sharpened it costs like £10, and it's
£5 to
almost
£10.
almost like the price of a new pair of runners of blades. So
a new set of blades costs about €20 on the T-Blade website, so that's equivalent to about £13, I think. So it's a little bit more expensive than having a grind, but it's a lot easier, and I find the control you have on the T-Blade is a lot nicer than a traditional runner, but that's just me.
Yeah, it'd be like if you don't know which person who will like sharpen your skates, you might choose T-blades, I suppose, because I always have to make sure that the same person sharpens my blades, so I know that it's the way I want it. And if you're not in control of like asking the same person to sharpen your blades, it might be an advantage of like having always the same sharpness and don't have to worry about how they will be.
Definitely.
Right. So how many pairs do you need to buy in like 1 month? Or
well, I skate quite a bit, but not as much as I used to. Normally I go through about one set of runners every 1 to 2 months. If you skate every day for a couple of hours, I'd say you need to swap them once a month, but also it depends how heavy you are. So if you're quite light like me, the edges will last a very long time. If you're a bit heavier, then you'll blunt them down a bit quicker.
Right. So I buy like 1 or 2 pairs of blades a year, which cost me around €50 per pair. The sharpening for me is not that much. So yeah, I think when I jump and when I sharpen them a lot and I jump, they might break. Did you ever experience something like that with T-blades?
I've never had a pair of T-blades break on me from jumping or doing any kind of footwork. I've never had the metal come away from the plastic. I think there's been stories of they have broken, and you were on the track with Patrick, was it?
Yeah.
And he went across lots of stones and bumps, and the metal can come away from the plastic. But if you're skating at your local ice rink or you're skating on nice flat ice, it's fine.
Yeah.
We went down the tracks the other day, didn't we?
Yeah,
along where the roads, where the cars had been, and it was really bumpy like a BMX track. But my T-blades held up fine. I haven't had to replace them, and they've still maintained their sharpness.
Right. What about the cost? Like, for example, if you buy these skates, it's like fixed. They have normal blade holders and blades. I know that you can buy T-blades set already on the shoe, but sometimes people just buy the skates and then add the runners and everything themselves. What about the cost? Like, for example, you buy this pair of skates with normal holders and then you want to replace them with T-blades. How much does it cost, like, in total?
Okay, so if you were to buy a set of skates, they're going to come with the traditional hockey tuck holder on the bottom. When I ordered my skates, I ordered them customized through the T-blade website, so mine came as T-blades. I didn't have to find someone to do the setup for me, but I think every skate shop or ice rink is different. There's no kind of set price for it, so you have to shop around a little bit. If you were to buy a traditional skate without the T-blade holder, the best thing to do is go to a few ice rinks, work out who's going to be able to do it the cheapest for you, and then go with that option.
I noticed that T-blade also made plastic ones and carbon fiber. What's the difference?
Okay, so the carbon fibre ones are a lot stronger than the plastic ones. They don't come in all the pretty colours you can get, because you could have this as metallic blue, a metallic red, yellow, any colour you really think of. You can probably get a holder in this colour, but the carbon ones just come black. They come plain black, but you can always do the customisation afterwards. Or you could go to someone like Experiment, Michael Muller, and get him to paint them for you. And get them sent to you the colour you want. But I think the plastic ones have a tendency of breaking a bit more than the carbon ones, especially if you're doing a lot of jumps and you're doing a lot of aggressive tricks on them. If you're a freestyler already and you're doing jumps and you're doing lots of footwork, I would definitely say get the carbon fibre one. It's more expensive, but it's worth it because it's not going to break on you.
Right. So what about the sizes? I noticed that this shoe is a little bit bigger than this one, and I know that Ben really wants to have T-blades, but he can't because the size is not available.
So the T-blades, they come in different sizes. This is a 280, meaning 280 millimeter. Here we have a 300, and on this pair of skates we have a 256. So, do you want to show them on your skate?
So if you want to go to T-blades and you have regular runners, you can always check the size. It's somewhere on the heel, outside or inside. Like for my skates, it says it's a 296 millimeter. So I should ask T-blade or look on the website of T-blade to have the same size. And then you know that the size of runner fits your boot.
When you're ordering the parts, you need to make sure that you're ordering, if you are a 280, you need to make sure you order the holder in a 280, your stabilizer in a 280, and your runner in a 280, as the parts will not fit together.
And do you get one of these included as well, or do you have to buy it separately?
You have to buy this separately normally.
Okay.
Sometimes, if you're lucky, it will be included.
I think you really need it because otherwise you can't screw it.
Yeah, you need this.
Specifically for T-blades.
You won't find a tool that fits the T-blade bolts. You have to buy the T-blade tool, else you won't be able to get them out. Some people use different screws. You can use your own screws if you find screws that will fit. And you can use a screwdriver.
Alright, so that's all the explanation about T-blades. Let's continue with the questions you guys asked us. First question is from Arif SLMN. He's from Malaysia, I guess. He asked like, is it true that when the T-blade gets dull we can't shave it, like sharpen it, but we have to buy new ones?
Okay, so you can't put them on an abrasive wheel like a grinder. What will tend to happen is, because it's a thin strip of metal, you can see how thin this piece of metal is on the blade. If you put this on an abrasive wheel, what will happen is you'll burn the metal and you'll get a black mark on it, or worst that can happen is the metal will come away from the runner completely and you won't be able to use it at all. So don't try and put them on a wheel. If you have a hand sharpening tool, yeah, you can bring a bit of edge back to it, but I'd recommend just swapping completely.
Yeah, I've seen some guys on Facebook and they say that they can sharpen it once. I guess like if you sharpen it once, it might work maybe, but I think that you just risk your own life. Like when you skate and the metal springs off because of your sharpening, then you might break your ankle or something because you're actually skating on plastic.
You're weakening the bond between the metal and the plastic. So as soon as you start doing jumps or something, you risk it pinging off and you're going to land just on plastic.
So I think like don't listen to other people like you can sharpen them once, because it's like risking your own health, life, because you can get injured because of it. So just like when they are dull, just replace them with new ones. That's my
definitely,
suggestion.
I definitely agree.
Second question is from Dazer 2000. He asks, what tricks are easier with or without the T-blade, and how hard are they to install and maintain? So maybe like the first part, what tricks are easier with or without T-blades?
Okay, so the T-blade is a completely different shape. Can we get your boot as well, just so we can see? So when you grind a hockey skate, you don't normally grind here. You start about here, and you're going to grind to the back of the heel to here. You're not going to grind this part. With the T-blade, it is sharp all the way to the heel, and it is sharp all the way to the toe. So if you're doing spins on your toes, or you're trying to dig your heel in, or you're doing stops on your heels or stops on your toes, you know you've got a sharp runner there. With your traditionals, it's gliding on blunt, would you say? It's more blunt when you're trying to do stops on your heels and toes. Jumps I think are about the same. I think it's about the same for T-blade and traditional.
I have no idea. I never tried T-blades, only one time, and it's really like adjusting, different. The second part of the question was like how hard is it to maintain them?
Okay, so maintaining them is easy. It takes about 10 minutes to swap your blade out and put a new one in, and that's for a pair of skates. As you get used to undoing your bolts, you'll get quicker at it. You just have to make sure you do them up tight, because if you don't do them up tight and you skate a lot and you aren't checking the bolts, you can skate for hours on these and the bolts will stay fine. We skated for 2 days along tracks which are quite rough and bumpy, and I've checked my girlfriend's skates. Her bolts are all very, very tight still. My bolts are all still very, very tight. You can buy replacement bolts. It's about 20 euros for a pack, I think. So it's not too expensive, but I would recommend, if you're going skating, to always bring a spare set of runners and a spare few bolts, because you never know if you're going to stand on something and chip your blade, or if someone's going to come into you and make a mark on your blade, or if you lose a screw. If you lose one screw, it's not so bad, they'll still stay in, but I would recommend always having a full set of bolts in your skates, just to make sure they are secure.
Yeah. Personally, for me, that's one of the reasons why I don't have T-blades, because with my graph skates I only have one to maintain, to make sure it's not loose. Of course, if I lose it, then I'm screwed. With T-blades you always have like 6 to maintain, which might take a little bit more.
Or 5 if you're a smaller.
5, yeah, if it's a smaller. So it's just like a habit, like before you go on the ice, just check the screw. If it still fits, then you're good. Also, when you get out of the ice rink, check your screw and tighten it maybe. It's the same thing with T-blades as with graph. It might get loose as well, especially at the beginning. Once they are fit, they just...
Once they're in, they're in.
They're in. Maybe if you have like a new pair of screws, you might have to tighten them at the beginning, but once they're stuck, they're stuck. Right, next question is a question from Alex. He said, T-blades, la la la, why do T-blades have holes? Why do they have holes? Because like, if you look at runners, they have holes as well, with T-blades as well.
I think this is for weight.
Yeah.
Because if this was solid, imagine how much extra plastic you've got in here.
Yeah.
It's going to weigh you down a lot. This is strong enough to keep a heavy man on the ice. This isn't going to snap. You don't need to worry about, oh, this is only a thin piece, this is only a thin piece. Don't need to worry. It's the same with a tuck. You've still got the holes there. It's just done in a different manner.
Yeah. I think it's just a different kind of styling.
Design.
Yeah, design and style. I think like if Graph or any other brand would like to have round holes like that, they could make it. I think it's quite easy. And so the holes are not wheels, because some people think that they are like wheels turning around, so it's just holes. Next question is from I am Jessica00. She asks, like, is there something I should notice when I skate with or like on T-blades for the first time?
Okay, so it is depending on what sharpness and what rocker you have. If you have a large or a medium or a small, obviously a large, you're going to have a lot of your blade touching the ice. It's going to feel like more like a traditional figure skate. It's very flat on the ice. A medium makes it so you've got a little bit more rock and give, and a small is what most freestylers use, because you've got a lot of turnability on them, and you won't really feel too much bumps on the ice because your skates rock a lot like a banana shape. I think it's easier to control once you are used to freestyling. The footwork and stuff comes a lot smoother.
So what would you recommend, like somebody's planning to buy their first pair of skates? Should you recommend traditional blade holder, or should you say like just go for the T-blades?
I would recommend just going for the T-blades. My girlfriend Krista, she was wearing higher skates and I bought her these. This is her first pair of skates. She's got along with them fine. I've made her, she started on an M13, which is a medium rocker, but it's not too sharp. What I've done is I've ordered her an M11, and then an M9, and then 2 pairs of S9s. So we're slowly working our rocker down and our sharpness up.
Yeah.
And once you get used to the S9, that's it, you're set and you're ready to go. I think the S9's the best one to use for freestyle. It may be different if you're just a public skater and you want to go around the ice, but I'd recommend starting on M13s and working your way down in rocker and down in sharpness.
Yeah.
Well, more sharp.
All right. Let's go to the next question. It's from Fanny. Fanny asks if we can translate it to French. Fanny, si tu regardes ça, on va faire les sous-titres en bas en français, donc t'inquiète, ça va être arrangé. Next one, Isaac Devson. He asks like, what are the main advantages and disadvantages when it comes to performance compared with normal hockey skates, like normal runners?
Okay, so I skated in normal runners for about 4 years, and that was going from cheap pairs of skates and spending more and more money, and I probably went for about 3 different pairs of skates when I was wearing my traditionals.
Yeah.
When I got T-blades, I spent a lot more money on my skates because I knew I loved the sport, so I spent about £300 on my skates, and the T-blade setup came for free, luckily. That was just, I had a contact who would allow me the T-blade setup for a quite cheap price, but I think the advantages of the T-blade over the hockey is just the swappability, the customization, everything we've talked about previously. I think answers that question quite well.
I think like customization might be the biggest advantage.
Yeah.
The rest, like changing runners and stuff, really depends of the skate you have. If you buy new skates and cheap ones, you might have the boot, the runner, and the blade might be stuck into the runner. So once you sharpen them a lot and the blade gets thinner, you can't really replace them because you have to take everything off, and maybe for cheap skates it's not even worth doing it. If you go to more expensive skates, like for example these graph skates, you can just keep the boot, the runner, and once the blade is sharpened too much and it gets thin, you can just screw it around and take it off and put a new blade in it. It's actually the same as T-blades, just that it's like more expensive, but you have to do it less than T-blades. So if you have cheap skates, you can't replace the blade. If you go on a more expensive skate, whether it's T-blade or runners, you can still replace the blade.
So you could spend, you could buy a entry model skate, which doesn't cost too much, and you could get a T-blade setup on it. So if your blade does run dull, you can swap it out.
Yeah.
But if you were to buy the same entry model skate and have a traditional runner on it, you're going to find it hard to swap in between, and the price can be what, about £50 to have your holder taken off, a new blade put on, and then the holder put back on. So I recommend, if you're getting a cheaper pair of skates, definitely get the T-blade setup because it will save you money in the long run.
Yeah. Alright, next question is of Iqbal Ice Freestyle. He asks like, why do most freestylers only use the blade and the holder, and why do they not use the boots of T-blade? What is the difference comparing with other brands, like related to the boots? I think that's an easy question to answer. Like every foot is different, and you just like should try all brands of skates, of the boots, which fit you best, like most comfortable, and then just stick with that kind of boot and replace all the runners with T-blades if you want to have T-blades. If the boots fit you well of T-blade, I would just go for the T-blade boot. It's just personal choice, I think. I don't know, what's your opinion?
I haven't worn the RBZs or the Tax yet. I have a old pair of CCM U's, Crazy Lights. So for these, I found the toe cap's a lot bigger than a Bauer skate and the heel's a lot tighter than a Bauer skate, but it depends from model to model. So I have never tried the T-blade boots myself, but it, as Jay says, it just depends on your foot and how you like the blade, how you like the boot to fit. If you like a really tight toe cap, then you're going to go with a different brand. If you like a real tight heel, you're probably going to go with a different brand. I always favour CCM. I've had Bauers, I've had 2 pairs of Bauers, I've had 1 pair of CCMs. I love my CCMs. I'd always, and if you notice, look, we have RBZs, we have TACs and U's, and they're all CCM. So I think we're a bit favoured towards the CCM, but they're nice.
Yeah. So I just think like when you go to the shop, just try different boots of different brands, and then you can just add T-blades afterwards. It doesn't matter really why most freestylers don't have the T-blade boot. Next question is from Arif SLMN. He says, what's the most advantages of using T-blade? I think we talked about it already.
Yeah, we've talked about this.
Then another guy from Malaysia, Arif NN. How long does it get to get blunt, and is it really worth wearing?
It depends on your weight, as we said before. So if you're quite light like me, I swap mine about once a month if I'm skating every day for a few hours. If you're heavier, you might need to swap it every 3 weeks.
Yeah, I think it also depends like how many times you go to the ice rink, and maybe also of the ice quality, if you have soft ice or really hard ice, if you are skating on inside ice rinks or outside ice rinks or lakes like this.
And how many stops you're doing also. If you're doing a lot of hockey stops and practicing your stops, you're going to blunt your runners down a lot quicker than if you were just kind of going for a long distance skate.
Maybe I also have a question, now we are talking about stops and stuff. Like for example, if you put them on like this, look, and you always stop like this, then maybe the inside here might get blunt faster. Can you just swap them to the other skate and the other blade on this side, so you can really work on both edges as well?
Yeah, you can just swap them from skate to skate. If you work out that your inside edge is getting a lot blunter compared to your outside edge, yeah, you can just swap it out. But if you use both edges just the same amount, I'd say just swap the blade out. It's not worth swapping them in between, because when you then go and put in a fresh pair, you're gonna have really sharp edges on both sides, and it's gonna like take some time to get used to it again. So I'd say once one edge is gone, I'd get rid of it and put a new one in. But that's each to their own. Some people may find it's better to just swap it over.
Yeah. Alright, next question is from, it's probably Kim. He asks, like, what's the difference between the Speedflame and the traditional T-blade holder?
So this is a traditional holder. We haven't got any Speedflames on us today. The Speedflames are good for going very, very fast, but they're much weaker than the traditional. They're not recommended for freestylers or hockey players because the jumps and the footwork we do is too aggressive for them. It's good if you want to go fast and you're higher off the ice, so you can get a lot sharper corners, but for freestyling I'd always recommend the traditional T-blade holder.
So I guess T-blade, like Speedflames are more like for people who want to go fast on the ice and not do many tricks, just skate. And maybe like do some tours like here on the lake. So for the people who don't know the Speedflame, it's a little bit different than the traditional ones. The Speedflame is like thin and goes like in front. The circles are not this round, they just go to the front, like not circles like this, but how do you call it like this?
Oval.
Oval ones, yeah, more oval. So that's the difference between Speedflame and traditional T-blades. Let's go on to the next question. 68 Carat asks, like, did the T-blades break easier when you're jumping?
I've never had a pair break on me. I've got an X-Trace ramp, and it's 56 centimeters high. It's the biggest ramp. We've done jumps which are 1.5 meters high off the ramp. I've never had a pair of T-blades break on me. If you're heavier, then maybe so. If you're jumping 2 meters 10 and you're quite a heavy guy or girl, then maybe you might break a pair, but I've never seen with my own eyes a pair of T-blades break from jumps. I'm not sure if you have, Jay?
Yeah, I have quite a lot during events actually. Most of the time it's not the light skaters who break them, it's the skaters who are a bit taller and more heavier. What happens is like they skate and then they jump, and when they land, like not straight on the ice like this but a little bit like this, then it might crack at the end. Like the screws, the plastic where it's in, might crack over here. Also I have seen some runners cracking over here. I made one video a long time ago when somebody was doing a jump, he landed and actually the whole part came off.
This is off a ramp?
No, normal jump.
Just normal jump.
Normal jump. I think it just depends on your skating style and what kind of jumps you do. Like if you're starting to do 360 degrees jumps, it might not happen, but if you do like B twists and stuff, or backflips maybe, and you land a little bit sideways, if you do it quite often, it might get like a weak point. Most of the times when I see them breaking, it's at the end and not at the beginning of the T-blade, it's more the heel. So, but anyway, when I jumped in the past with normal runners, I broke my blade as well in the middle. I've seen many other people with different brands, like when you sharpen it a lot and the blade gets thinner and you do jumps, they break. So I think maybe it's a little bit more common with T-blades than with normal runners. On the other way, most of the jumpers in freestyle ice skating use traditional runners, and a lot of other people like doing footwork and stuff, they use T-blades because it's more maneuverable. So yeah.
Each to their own.
Yeah. It's still like personal choice and personal style. And if you don't take care of them, like for example, if you have the screws and you don't tighten them every time you go skating, and when they get a little bit loose and you do a jump, there's more give, so it might break because you have more space between the blades and the screws. So I think like maintaining them is also a big part of preventing not to break them. Next question is like one from Danish Heikel 2. He asks like, which is the best carbon T-blade or normal T-blade?
So the only part that comes in a carbon is the holder. I'd recommend if you're doing jumps or footwork, or I'd recommend just getting the carbon holder. I wouldn't get the plastic holder. I think if you get it and you break it, you're just going to wish you spent the extra money on the carbon. So, and it's not too much more expensive. I think it's about twice the price, but it doesn't break. I've never seen a carbon holder break, so I'd always recommend getting the carbon holder over the plastic one.
Okay. Maybe it's also, again, a little bit personal. If you are planning to buy your first pair of T-blades, you might get the plastic one. If you really like them, you might invest in carbon fiber ones.
I think most people get the plastic ones because they come in all the pretty colours.
Yeah.
But if you are a freestyler, that colour isn't going to stay like that very long, because you're going to be falling over, you're going to be scratching the paint off. I'd recommend getting the carbon holder.
Alright. Let's continue. I think that's like most of the questions we have covered with answers. Maybe some personal questions as well. Like not really questions but just answers. Like when you travel a lot, like we do, for example, I have one person at my ice rink in Belgium who sharpens my blade, so I know it's always done properly. When I travel, I always have to buy or like make sure that I have more than one pair of blades with me, already sharpened. With Luke, when he travels, he takes like extra pairs of these. The difference in it is like the weight. If I have to buy a couple of pairs like this and I put them in my luggage, it really adds on my weight. Like you easily have half a kilo or 1 kilo more, and these are like so
nothing.
Yeah, nothing. I think you can get like 8 blades of this, and then you might have the weight of one like this. So for traveling, it might be useful to have T-blades as well, because they don't add on weight, and you're always sure that you have the same sharpness. You can just replace them very easily. So that's one of my
I completely
advantages,
agree.
I think. Still, I don't have T-blade because I don't like to maintain all the screws and stuff. Do you have other things which you?
No, I think it's the
like
same. Like, just the weight difference is the big part in it. And as you said, traveling and having to go to your ice rink and get the same guy to sharpen them, and making sure that he's there on the day you're there, when you can just go on the T-blade website and order what sharpness you want and they arrive at your house. Like,
all right. Some questions I did receive before putting out the question on Instagram is like people saying I can't get them in my country. So I know T-Blade is like a German brand and they're very easily to get in Europe, but what about people in, for example, Malaysia or Russia?
What I'd recommend is if the T-Blade website won't ship to your country, is contact Experiment on Facebook. He's a guy called Michael Muller. He's a really nice guy, personal friend of ours. He will ship to you. If he can, he will ship to you. You might have to pay a little bit more for the shipping, but he should be able to ship anywhere.
Yeah. Okay. Another question might be like, I've seen a lot of people lately replacing the traditional normal screws with stuff like this.
Oh, what you mean, the different shapes?
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, that's again.
Do they have advantages, or is it purely customization?
It's purely customization again. You won't find these on the T-Blade website. These are from Experiment from Michael Muller. He does all different types, so you don't just have spikes, but you can have, well, anything. You can not just one spike, but you could have like a kind of a hedgehog spike, or you can have, on mine, I have BX Fist written to the bolts. So
another thing is like for customization, look, if I can get your skate again. Like these are the traditional caps which you get from T-Blade, and then you can get them in your team logos or any other shapes as well. So this is one specially made for BX Fist. So the members, they have little caps like this. The caps, they don't really do something.
Nope.
Just personal style and stuff.
Just for customization. And again, that's from Experiment, that's from Michael.
So he's a guy who makes all kind of tiny things for T-Blade. Also the runners, he can put them with like nice colors and images and stuff.
I think he's even starting to hydro dip skates. So if you knew like they do for car panels, so you could have skulls imprinted across your whole boot, or you could have leaves, or any design you can find online for hydro dipping. You could ask Experiment and they can do it for you. They can even do like glow in the dark designs. Obviously, if you're a freestyler and you're skating aggressive, the paint might not stay on there too long. I'd recommend, if you're going to spend a lot of money and get your skates hydro dipped, I just have them on a wall as a pretty object, like a piece of art. I wouldn't skate in them.
Alright, so I think those are all the questions we got from you guys. I hope it's getting a little bit more clear, like what are T-Blades and how do you maintain them, and what kind of differences are there with T-Blades, like from the shapes, colors, and different kind of blades and everything. So I hope Luke answered all of your questions, and let's see you in the next video. Peace. And keep skating. Bah!
What's up, freestyle ice skating community, it's me Jay from Xeo Lifestyle, and I hope you found this video very informative. If you did so, please give this video a thumbs up, and if you need more information, you can find all useful links down below in the description. In case you have more questions about T-Blades, you can always post them as a comment down below this video. Thanks again for watching, don't forget to subscribe, and I hope to see you soon somewhere on the ice. Peace and keep skating. Bam!